Hello everybody, my name is Amy. I'm part of the RCP community and a root cause protocol consultant. It's always a mouthful to say. Today I am talking with Jacqui Soliman. Hello Jacqui.
Hi Amy.
Jacqui, today I'd just love you to share a bit about your journey with the RCP, your own personal health journey. And also we're going to talk a little bit about the training that you've undertaken to be a root cause protocol consultant as well. So welcome, and let's get stuck into it. Tell us how you came across the RCP and the work of Morley Robbins.
So I first came across it, I think it was 2014, around then, in the magnesium advocacy group on Facebook. So Christine was a good friend of mine and had told me, said, "Oh, you need to check out this magnesium thing." And so I had joined, and yeah, so that's when I first came across it then.
Okay, so you came across the RCP. Were you looking for some health solutions for your own health issues at the time?
So at that time I had 4 children, and I had a 13-week miscarriage after my 4th one. And I was just kind of in a state of just constant fatigue and run down and just not having a lot of energy, which, you know, I guess a lot of people say is part and parcel of having 4 children, but, you know, in under 6 years. But yeah, I wanted to just be in a better state of my health. And I'd done lots of things throughout my own health journey, like in terms of like eating more of a whole foods, ancestral seasonal eating diet. And I had seen a naturopath because I thought that would have been a good idea for, you know, alternative health. And after my 4th baby was born, but it just wasn't really nailing it for me. And I was still struggling with the same sort of fatigue energy symptoms. So yeah, so that's kind of just out of curiosity, joined to find out more about magnesium, because I had been told to take it by the naturopath, but didn't know a lot about it. Yeah, and then I fell pregnant with my 5th child, and that was when the RCP was really starting to be formed in terms of other recommendations, and Morley was really getting into the iron sort of side of the research. Yeah, so it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, and so was your 5th pregnancy, the pregnancy you had your issues with?
Yeah, so most of my other pregnancies had been fine. I had always had anemia, as they say. Like, I'd been told with my first child that I'd had anemia. Actually, yeah, so I had a bit of a history there. I had my gallbladder out after my first child was born, had severe gallstone attacks, and that was when I really first started to try to tackle, I think, from health, you know, diet, cleaning up my environment, all that sort of stuff. So I had my gallbladder out after her. In my 3rd pregnancy, my ferritin came up as undetectable on a blood test, and they were like, "How are you still alive?" And I was like, "Well, I am." And then they said, "Oh, you know, you need iron," and so recommended an iron infusion. And wanting a home birth at that, because that was my 2nd home birth I was planning, I was like, well, this is what I need to do. So I had an iron infusion, but it gave me an energy boost for maybe 6 months. You know, initially I felt good in that postpartum period, but then after that it was like a plummet straight back down, and my numbers were back to what they were again before the infusion. And I knew that because I'd fallen pregnant with my 4th child when she was only 8 months old, and they do the bloods when you first get pregnant. And I was like, and in my head I'm going, this doesn't add up. Why are my numbers back? You've put all this iron into me, so why don't, you know, and it's not like it's gone through my stomach where they say it's an absorption issue, right? It's gone into my body, like my veins. So why am I struggling? So that was all in the back of my head, just all these questions I had that I didn't have answers for, and it didn't make sense. And then, yeah, in my 5th pregnancy, I was diagnosed with cholestasis when I was about 31 weeks pregnant, I think, which was a shock to me because I'd always had low risk pregnancies. I'd had 3 home births. I was planning my 4th. And that then put me in the high risk category, which sort of changed everything. And so then I was, because I'd been in the magnesium advocacy group and following Morley's developing research and going, okay, well, I'm going to give this a try. I've got nothing to lose. And throughout my pregnancy, mothering journey, I'd always sort of gone against the grain. So it wasn't new for me to sort of step outside of that and go, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. So I did.
So did you start the RCP whilst you were pregnant?
Yeah, so when I got there, I'd already sort of done a little bit of magnesium and stuff, but not wholeheartedly. I just had kind of was going along. We were renovating the house when I first fell pregnant with her. So
no
all this
stuff.
No stress at all. Yeah, no, these are things that, like, in hindsight, when I went back and looked, I sort of understood more how that stress at all had contributed, because I'd had a car accident. There was a few things going on, and while I was pregnant with her, and also I'd had an abscessed tooth. So there was like a few things happening in that pregnancy that, yeah, when you look back, I went, oh, okay, that'll make sense.
Yeah, but in light of the RCP, isn't it, when you start to learn about those stress connections, when you start to look back at your journey, you think, oh, okay, there was a little bit of stress there.
There was a lot of stress, yeah. And at the time, I mean, I didn't know any of that. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to get these nutrients in my body that I think it needs. And really at the time, I started because I was more worried about the iron, again, because they were all like, oh, your iron's low. And so I was, taking beef liver. I was even trying to eat beef liver and just trying to get my iron up. And then I got the cholestasis diagnosis. And then all of a sudden, that's what they were focused on. And, you have to have an induction at 37 weeks or your baby's going to die. And like these, sort of things I would tell you. So much fear. And I delved into the research and went, statistically, that's actually not what it says. And I pushed and said that I want to just keep being monitored. And if the pregnancy is fine and I'm fine, then I want to try and go into labour naturally, which was kind of, that was a nice little battle to have to go through. But I started around 30 when I had the diagnosis, when I kind of really threw myself in. So I was taking magnesium, I was taking high amounts of whole food C, beef liver. I was doing magnesium bars every single night, which I think was, crucial. But I also completely overhauled my diet. And you can't actually do a detox when you're pregnant, but I thought I've got to give this the best chance that I've got. So I was only eating foods that were going to really help. So I was doing things like vegetable juice, like a beetroot juice, eggs, broths, soups, just like getting enough protein, but slow cooked foods and just foods that are easy to digest and easy on the liver, really, because that's where my body was clearly struggling at the time. So it was a combined effort of things. It wasn't.
Very much. Would it be fair to say an ancestral diet, which is
absolutely,
what we promote?
Absolutely, ancestral. It wasn't a radical paleo, like, not that paleo is radical, but it wasn't like a particular diet radical. It was just getting back to nourishing whole foods, really. And just making sure that I was just really mindful of what went into my body.
And then how did pregnancy unfold and birth unfold for you in light of the things that you were doing to nourish your body?
So after 4 weeks, when it was I think at my 36-week visit, when they're really starting to sort of push for induction, the doctor looked at my results and my bile acids had dropped back down to normal range. And so elevated bile acids is one of the markers. And also my liver function, which had been very elevated, had dropped back down to like 70, like lowered by 70% of what it had been at. And she was just looking at the results, speechless, going, what are you doing?
Whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Because I mean, they had told me to take a medication that is off-label, and I took it for like a few days. I think it made me feel sick. I can't do this. And so I didn't tell them that I stopped taking it, but I just trusted that my body, if I gave it the right ingredients, would know what to do and would start to heal, and it did.
And did you notice any positive shifts in your birthing recovery as maybe opposed to your other children?
I think so, definitely. And I also don't know how much of that was just that this was the only time I'd given birth to a baby where I didn't have a toddler, well, apart from my first child, where I didn't have a toddler. Like my youngest before her at that stage was almost 4.
Yeah.
So I sort of put it down to that at the time. I thought, oh, wow, this is nice and cruisy having a baby where, you know, like I don't have a toddler to tend to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think definitely looking back, I had just a lot more energy. And the birth, I mean, it ended up going into birth naturally at 39 plus 6 weeks, which is just amazing, really.
Wow.
I had to go to hospital for it, but it was my midwife was there, and it was, beautiful, straightforward birth. So
yeah, that's fantastic. So how about now? Flash forward a little bit. So that, you know, what year would that have been in? About
2015. Yeah.
So how is your health traveling these days?
Yeah, it's good. It's still a journey. Obviously, I'm not going to pretend that I've got it all made. For me, it's been a full-on sort of time since then, so 2015. So since then, I've had 4 moves, 2 of those interstate, which is pretty big, especially when you've got 5 children. 5 children. And so there's been lots of change in our lives, other changes as well, which, you know, I could spend all day talking about. But what I've learned through it is just really how to manage stress better and to be able to handle that better, because before I came to the RCP, like there would be days and I was just so fatigued that I would nap. I couldn't get out of bed some days. I was just exhausted a lot and just didn't have that energy to sort of get through the day. But I have that now, despite the stress that we've had in our lives. That's been the biggest thing I've noticed is being able to handle that.
Yeah, and it's often not until you're put, you know, back under, you know, a big amount of stress that you can tell how much better your body, you know, metabolically, how you're coping with that stress, and mentally, of course, as well. But, you know, when we're put to the test, we can really see all the supports that we've been doing for our body. They really start to shine through, don't they? Because, I mean, stress is lifelong, isn't it? And we're always going to have it. But it's you know, it's how we can kind of get through as unscathed as possible.
That's right.
It's always a good thing. So when did you make the decision to go and study the root cause protocol with Morley? Back then it would have been called the
Copernican Institute.
For Mineral Metabolism. That's what my sister do. You joined very early on, so you were in class 2. It would have been a much different beast then than what it is now. It's really has evolved, and you've been you know, an integral part of that evolution as well with your role now. But tell me back then, you know, how you came to that decision to go and study to become a root cause protocol consultant.
So for me, it was just something that just lit a fire within me. Because it had made such a difference in my life, and I wanted to do that, and to help others, really is what it came down to. Plus, I love the research side of it. I love the getting deeper into the weeds, as Molly says, and understanding the how it works, like the why behind it. And so, but it just really struck a chord with me, and was something that I just, you know, when you find something that you're really passionate about and that you can talk about endlessly, then it's a clear sign.
And what did you enjoy about the course?
It just blew my mind in a way that I'd never come across. And I've done a bachelor's degree, I've done research at a PhD level, and this to me, it just made sense. Particularly the iron, getting into the depths of the iron understanding, and understanding that iron works on a recycling system. It's not absorption, it's recycling, and just getting into the nuts and bolts of that. That was like, wow, why has no one ever told me this? Like, it just makes sense. And so there was many moments of that, plus also understanding the stress connection. I just remember particularly one example from the class where Molly had talked about someone, and there was this clear indication of the stress leading to these symptoms, and just thinking, wow. And then when you start to look back at your own stress history, and you can see it so clearly how it just links up.
Yeah, And what was new information to me as well on the stress component is Morley really taking you back to, you know, even pre-birth and how the stresses of in our mothers' lives and our mothers' life
and grandmothers,
you know, a genetic component there, but it's very much generational as well.
It's
so
very generational.
You know, we're set up with you know, we're born often with these deficiencies as well. So yeah, it's fascinating when you start to think about your own life and your journey and your mum's health and her mum's health, isn't it? Just to see how much of an impact that had on your life. Yeah. So you took the training in group 2 that very early on, even for Morley, isn't it, where he was just really starting to shift from magnesium into talking about iron. So you've been there for that evolution with him as well, from really progressing from the magnesium to talking about iron to really into the copper as well now, and the retinol that he really likes to talk about as well. Have you taken the training since, or when did you shift into your current role as a tutor?
So I took the training again in group 12. So I knew that it had changed a lot since then. And so I just knew that I wanted to just get a deeper understanding of kind of the research where Morley was at now. And I'd obviously seen bits of that through being an alumni. But yeah, just really wanted to sort of refresh my memory as well, but also just, you know, and I think it's good to do that. Like, it's good to go back and not assume that we kind of know it all. Keeps us humble. And and then in group 13, I started tutoring, and then I'm tutoring again in this group, in the current group in 15.
Okay, and tell us about your role as a tutor and what does that bring to the course?
So the tutorials are, so they've only been really added in since they started in 13. That was when we were kind of working it out. They just give a small group focus. So it gives you a chance to work with a small group of people, and they can ask more deeper personal questions that they can't really ask in a live class setting, just simply because there's not enough time to sort of get through everyone. So you get more one-on-one help, get more focused attention. You've got the tutor there to ask questions of as well. So you've got that extra support and a key person to connect with. So it provides you just with that extra support and not feeling lost, I think, throughout the course. So just to help clarify it, because it's a lot in the training, a lot of concepts, a lot of new things to get your head around. So just to help to be able to clarify those and really cement that understanding for people. Yeah.
And I guess in that tutoring role, you know, you're very much there to support a group of people who've come into the course, but I bet you get a lot out of that yourself as well, just in terms of hearing about people's you know, their symptoms, their experiences with the root cause protocol as well.
Yeah, it's such an honor. I love it so much. And students have to do an assessment when they do the course, so they do their own sort of practice consult, and so we sit and mark those, and just having that opportunity to sit there and listen and see how they're grasping it and then putting it into practice, and it gives me goosebumps when I talk about it. All those light bulb moments. And you know, just sort of seeing them really step into their own and know that they're starting to grasp it and to put it into practice. And it's a real privilege.
And there's a lot more practitioners coming into the training as well, isn't there? So, you know, I bet you it's quite something to watch them begin to really unlearn what they know and, you know, apply all this new knowledge to, you know, their existing practice and the way that they've been thinking about minerals and health for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And they also bring such a richness, I think. I know the ones in my tutorial do. They just bring such a richness because they still have a wealth of knowledge, and that's not to be discounted. So I find that really valuable, their perspective. Yeah,
definitely. And so apart from being a tutor for the Root Cause Protocol Institute, what else are you doing with yourself, and are you incorporating, you know, the RCP into your life professionally as well?
Yeah, so I also work as a consultant. So you do consults with people, and I also do some behind the scenes work with RCP doing transcriptions for the Institute. So
yeah,
keeps me busy. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the last question I've really just got for you, Jacqui, is you know, around if you could summarise in a sentence or two, how has the RCP and going on to study with the Institute, how has that changed your life and perhaps the direction of your life professionally? That's really hard to give in a sentence or two, given the question, but do your best.
Well, okay. I studied engineering, so for me, it's a complete about turn from what I was originally doing. But I mean, engineering is problem solving. This is problem solving in a different way. I've always been passionate about health and helping people, and for me, this is just. I had considered medicine actually when I started my uni training. Kind of, I don't know, maybe partly thankful I didn't end up pursuing that route. It's just. It's changed my life. It's just brings such a clarity, I think, around, you know, the answer. It gives clarity and focus to answers people are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always feel like when you've had your own journey with your health and struggles with your health, you know, it brings that depth of empathy and understanding as well to be able to support your clients through the process and you know, hold their hand along the way as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jacqui. Now, if people wanted to reach you, if they, you know, would like to engage you as a consultant, how are they going to be able to get in touch with you?
So my website is nurtured.life. So yeah, www.nurtured.life, or they can email me at hello@nurtured.life.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us, Jacqui, and sharing your experience of the RCP and you know, hopefully that resonates for somebody else who is having some struggles. And just pleased that you could join us and share your story today.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much, Jacqui. Bye.
Bye.